just like golf. We say, okay, slow down enough for the corner, turn at the right spot, stay off the gas until you're going the direction you want to go, hit the apex. The apex is where you get closest to the inside edge of the corner, and don't run off the road. Pretty simple, but it's like swinging a golf club. It's very easy too to describe. Actually, I have quite a bit of experience starting out with autocrossing, which I did just for fun, and actually got a very late start. I didn't even own a car until I was in my late 20s, and I got it just to do autocrosses, and because of success there and being really interested in, and I went on from there and started out with a Formula Ford. Most of my background was in Formula cars and road racing, and then ultimately climaxing with running Indy 500. Okay, the event will be on the north course of the Autobaun, of the 2 courses that we have. And what I'll do is go through and explain each corner, its intricacies, its hazards, and how to execute the various corners. The pit straight is just to the left of the main straight, and we go clockwise around the track. At the end of a first lap, you would be approaching turn 1, which is a very fast corner, left-hand turn, and it takes a long time to really get up to full speed at that point because you're probably approaching it at 100, maybe a little more than 100 miles an hour. And in some cars, you can be flat out. The reason it's so difficult is you can't afford to make any mistakes because not far off of the track on the right-hand side, you have things that you can hit. So if you get through one without any problem, you want to get to the left most of the time, unless you're passing someone, in which case you would probably be on the right-hand side of the road. And turn 2 is one of the 2 most difficult corners on the north track because 2 is more than 90 degrees and therefore requires a late apex, and it's pretty slow. It's the slowest corner on the track. And it's pretty difficult to get slowed down from 1 to 2, get shifted down to the proper gear, and then be disciplined enough to wait to be able to get into a late apex so you can get a good exit off the corner, because in many cars, especially low power cars, you might be full throttle all the way through 3, the next corner, including down the straightaway between 2 and 3. 3 is faster than it appears because you can get additional downforce as you're going through the corner, which gives you more grip, and the faster you go, the more downforce you get. So it's slowly approaching the limit, and you won't track out to the far left of the corner. A lot of corners on Alan Wilson's tracks, who designed this course, have these combination corners where you have to make a sacrifice or compromise one place or another and not follow the traditional turn-in point and from the outside apex and track out all the way to the outside. And this happens to be one of the areas where you typically don't get out to the far left coming out of 3 because you want to get set up for 4. And most cars, you don't have to get to the far left anyway. 4 is a little trickier because now you're kind of cresting, so you're losing traction. The faster you go, the less grip you have. So it's very tricky, and you want to try to apex late, otherwise you end up on the far right side of the road, making 5 more difficult than it has to be. So if you can apex 4 late, minimize how much to the right you go, get set up for 5, you can make 5 a very fast corner. In a lot of cars, it's in the neighborhood of 90 miles an hour. And that leads on to a straightaway between 5 and 6. So 5 becomes a pretty important corner. Any corner that leads onto a straightaway becomes more important than most corners because you'll carry any excess speed you have coming out of the corner all the way down that straightaway. 6 is the second corner that's very challenging and difficult to master because it looks like it has 2 apexes, when in fact the first apparent apex is on the right side of the road At that point, you want to be in the far left side of the road. So if you go into that corner treating that as an apex, you're in deep trouble when you get to the second apex, because you're going to be pointed the wrong way, and if you don't slow down, you're going to fly off the road on the outside. So the turn-in is quite late into 6, so that you can apex the second apex pretty normally. That is in the middle of the curbing on the inside. And then it tracks out to some curbing on the outside. The curbing at the exit of corners, at all of the corners where there's curbing, is very treacherous from the standpoint that it's wavy, and it has an amplitude that's not constant. At the junction between the concrete curbing and the asphalt of the track, it's pretty flat. There's very little amplitude, but the amplitude increases as you go toward the grass. So if you get off into the curb very hard, your tires are just bouncing over the tops of the curbing, and you have virtually no grip, no more grip than you would have on the grass or in the dirt. So you have to be very careful if you do exit the corner and go off into the grass or the curb, that you just try to maintain control and don't try to get onto the curb abruptly. Otherwise you'll lose control and likely visit the guardrail. Coming out of 6, again, you're going onto a long straightaway. So 6, although it's a difficult corner, is a very important corner. And it comes up to, again, you're going to reach over 100 miles an hour, approaching 7, which is a pretty conventional corner. But again, 7 and 8 are so close together. Generally, you won't get to the far right of the road coming out. The entry to 8 should be from the left-hand side of the road. If you're passing someone, you could go to the inside. But again, now we have the longest straightaway, so this 8-9 combination becomes extremely important. And if you lose a lot of speed in the middle of those corners, you're going to suffer the consequences all the way down to turn 1, actually turn 2 in some cases. So you turn in and treat 8 as a normal apex. You'll carry out close to the curbing on the left side or the outside of the corner, and try to keep your speed. Try and stay on the throttle all the time, even if you don't apex at 9. And many cars that are really fast and have a lot of horsepower, you frequently won't even get close to an apex at 9. But you want to keep in as much as you can. Some of our fleet cars, when I run those really hard during hot lapping, I have to actually lift a little bit just to make sure I don't drive off in the grass on the exit. So it's a very challenging corner, but a lot of fun at the same time. The radius is increasing as you're coming out of the corner, therefore allowing an increase in speed as you come out. Come down to start finish, and same thing all over.